Yeah, you can't really convince someone that their airport routine is wrong. So it's just
Yeah, it's I agree. I mean, you're not wrong.
because I like to be there about an hour and a half before my flight, and I'm all done with an hour to spare. So I give myself half an hour to get to the airport usually, and like give or take 30, 40 minutes to get there. So I'm fine with that. Like 2 hours before my flight is when I'm leaving my house. That's like my rule. And like Lindsay's like, that's not enough. You got to be at the airport 2 hours before your flight. So
That's insanity. I would have a shitload of tortas and margaritas if I was there 2 hours before my flight.
Welcome to our Film Fathers podcast, the definitive podcast about fatherhood, film, and fatherhood in film. This is Jelani, and with me as always are a patient, not a prisoner, and a guy who is as violent as they come, Martin and Brady.
this is a game. All of this is for you. You're not investigating anything. You're a fucking rat in a maze.
Since the schoolyard, neither of you has ever walked away from a physical conflict. No, not because you enjoyed it, but because retreat isn't something you consider an option.
This week, we're unraveling the mystery of Shutter Island, Martin Scorsese's mind-bending psychological thriller that keeps you questioning reality until the very last frame. Starring Leonardo DiCaprio in one of his most haunting performances, this film blends noir, horror, and psychological drama into a slow-burning descent into paranoia. But beyond its twists and turns is a movie that explores grief, guilt, and the fragility of the mind. How does it fit into Scorsese's legendary filmography? And what makes it so effective even after multiple rewatches?
Those are great questions, Jelani. I wasn't sure if I would like this as much on the rewatch because I read the book and loved the movie. But it was really good on the rewatch. Like there are so many things that once you know that there's some movies that once you know the twists, you're just like, I never need to see that again. But this isn't one of them. This is one that was really good on this rewatch. I think I only watched it the one time when it came out, and then I haven't seen it since. So, Brady, good job on recommending it.
Well, I was actually going to ask that because that's the way it was for me too. I saw it when it came out, and I remember thinking, "Oh my god, like this is crazy. It's good." Like, and for whatever reason, was not one that I went back to, and I always felt like it was like just outside of the talked about movies from Scorsese, almost to the point that like in Leo, it's like you talk about a lot of their movies, especially together, and this one just didn't seemingly get mentioned like some of the other ones did, and I don't know if it's just because it's a little different and it requires a little bit of thinking or why, but I just feel like it lives outside of the popularity vote.
I think it's because it was like I said, I think I felt it was a little gimmicky or something too. Like it was just like a one trick pony that it had a big twist, but there's so much more going on that makes it better, and that I think again you get rewarded on rewatches. But what do you think, Jelani?
I have to tell you guys, I have a problem with this movie.
Oh,
Had you seen it before?
So, in 2010, I took a business trip to India, and I got to fly first class.
Well, I don't know where this is going.
If you ever been in first class, they give you like all these movie options where you can just like pick whatever movie you want. This was, 2010 before everybody had everything on their phones. So I picked this movie to watch, and I was into it. I was watching it, and then I fell asleep. And just
Clearly
because
the
I was
movie's
like,
fault.
yeah, it was the travel. It was a 16-hour flight.
Must have been the
and
warm towel.
I woke up at the end, and so I was like, oh, man, I gotta go back and rewatch this. So when you brought it up, I was like, yeah, I really want to go back and see that. I know what happens. I know the twist, but I want to see like what did I miss? And again, this time, I was fighting sleep again. I don't know what it is about this film. Like it doesn't hold my attention enough to like keep me awake. And it was all right. I didn't love it.
What's funny is
you didn't fall asleep this time. You're saying.
I did not fall asleep
Okay.
this time.
what's
but-
funny is I almost did, and it had nothing to do with the movie and everything to do with just my life situation at the moment.
Yeah.
And I was just exhausted. I was trying to watch it on the train. I was trying to start it on the train. I couldn't get Plex to work. It was pissing me off. It's a never-ending problem I have right now. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess I got to watch the whole thing at night. I got home later than I wanted. I'm like, oh my God, I got 2 hours and 15 minutes ahead of me here. I'm like, I was dragging at the end. But I don't think it had anything to do with the movie personally. I think it was just my clock. My clock was winding out on me.
Yeah. Can we talk about the movie and not our personal problems of sleep?
No. We're going to talk about my personal no. So Jelani, I guess what do you have like your take technicalities? Do you have
I'll
fundamental
give you
flaws?
a little long. A little long, but not. I
It's a
wouldn't say
little long.
overly long. There's probably
No,
some fat, not a lot.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of fat. I just think that I don't know, especially after knowing the ending, I think I was looking for something more. I guess it is still sad, but I kind of wanted it to end right when he makes the realization that this is all a role play by the doctors. Like, I think after the flashback scene with the kids and Michelle Williams,
Yeah.
I think if you just ended it there, I feel like maybe that would have been enough.
You mean you don't like the ending where you think he's not, or
Where he's not cured
but then
about
he's
it.
not cured. But is he cured? That's the whole thing. Like, it's
Yeah,
ambiguous at
question-
the end.
Yeah, it is. And I guess maybe
Yeah,
let's start with that, Jelani.
Yeah.
Where do you think that ended? Where do you think it ended? Do you think he was cured? Do you think he was cured and essentially ready
Faking
to be
it.
lobotomized? Or do you think that he was not cured?
No, I don't think he was cured. I think he still believed he was investigating the murder or the disappearance, right? I think that's he still believes, like, everything that was explained to him, he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But that wasn't really it. And then, even when he's walking with the doctors at the very end, I think it's like he still kind of envisions that he's still the detective. He's still the U.S. Marshal.
Martin?
I don't know. I mean, you don't put that line in, and you don't make him. You don't make Mark Ruffalo, have that look on his face. You don't put that in if you don't want you follow the context clues, my kids would say. Like, it's there for a reason, and it's obviously meant to be kind of ambiguous, but I also kind of think it's kind of definitive that he knows what he's doing. He almost walks away with like a knowing look on his face, like I'm just choosing this because I don't want to be around. I don't want to know this. So this is the only way I'm gonna be okay.
Well, Martin, I noticed you said the phrase that they put this line in. I did see that final line was not in the book.
Oh, I'm gonna have to recheck that. I do remember there was something ambiguous. It ended similarly. I remember
There
thinking it
maybe
was,
was, but I was told what I read was that line was not part of
Okay.
was not part of the original book. But so I personally think that he is cured and essentially conceding to be done with like the internal struggle and the pain of dealing with everything, and Ruffalo was correct in suspecting that something was off. That being said, it would make no sense, in my opinion, that Ruffalo would have just said it once and been like, I'm just going to let this happen. I think they would have stopped it immediately and been like, hold on. I know I just signaled to you guys that
Right.
it didn't work, but I'm going to go ahead and
Let's add another 20 minutes to this movie.
yeah. Right. But
So the thing that I guess I kind of felt a little bit, and it's been done in other movies, but kind of like the Saint Elsewhere moment, right, where it's like everything that he went through, like the whole hurricane, right, when they're on the island and they're hiding out in the crypts, or they're being the rain's coming down, like all of that was so dramatic and so like over the top. It almost felt like a manifestation of his like internal turmoil, right? and not like that was an actual hurricane. Like it just seemed too big for.
Wait, was it or was it?
Ironically,
really
I think it was. I think I was reading somewhere. It literally was a real hurricane.
Yeah.
Like they can like pinpoint the hurricane that it was because of where the island was supposedly, and there were like numerous hurricanes that year. But also, I think the intensity of the storm was kind of going along with. I think it was a metaphor,
right,
for kind of the internal struggle and strife that he was dealing with.
But I also think it was real.
Yes,
There was a real
Right.
storm. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying though. Like it is real. Like everything that's happening is real because they're just playing along with him, right?
Yeah, but not everything, because he definitely imagined, what's her name, Patricia Clarkson, the Rachel Solando nurse that's in the cave,
In the cave.
like that. None of that really happened.
that wouldn't be real.
So that's not real. He obviously imagined Mark Ruffalo's, his partner's body down at the bottom, but also, although it looked like the rocks were like painted a little bit.
Exactly. The rock had the. I noticed that as well.
But he imagined that he maybe never even climbed down, because that would be a hell of a
Right,
climb
climbing down and then climbing back up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that-
it's like
that
they
rock
wouldn't.
face.
You would think like they wouldn't ever have let that happen. Where
Right.
they'd be like, "Oh, he's now precariously going down this cliff, a wet cliff."
The things that I really enjoyed on knowing how it ended, but then watching it again and really paying attention, are Mark Ruffalo trying to get his gun out of his, like, the holster out of his
holster.
pants, like, and Leo looks at him like why did that take you so long, and why would it take a marshal so long to take it, because he's not a marshal. He
wouldn't have taken the holster off. He would have just unholstered
Taken
the
the gun
gun.
out.
Sure,
And then, like,
whatever. Yeah, either way,
That, like
he wouldn't have
DiCaprio,
struggled.
it wouldn't like
Yeah,
have taken off on the entire holster and struggled to do so.
Yeah.
I definitely think that was without a doubt I didn't pick up on it at the time, but I definitely think that's accurate. Like that's a tell.
And there were, the part where they're interviewing the patient, and she's looking, and he asks him about he asks her about Dr. Sheehan, and obviously he's right next to her, and she looks over and she kind of looks at him like, oh no, he would never do that. It's like you don't realize she was talking about him, but you do later, and all that kind of stuff was really done, I think, really well and really subtle. And you don't know which parts are just made up. Versus not, and it kind of got a little. I felt it was a little bogged down, and a little bit of like too much detail. Like, would they go into all this? But I guess it was his own. It was Leo's own fantasy that they've been writing down forever. So, he made it as complex as he needed to be in his mind. So they kind of had to follow along with that. But I just think it's a pretty. I remember at the time being like, I don't get surprised. That I didn't get surprised that often in movies back in 2010. I feel like you've seen everything. You've seen a lot of twist movies, and this one's still kind of. I did not see that coming. When I read the book and then watched the movie, like I definitely didn't predict it. You were thinking there were all kinds of other things, and they were just going to get him. Basically, what he was worried about, that they were just going to trap him and make him think he's crazy, and that's what I thought was where it was going, which would have been, I think, good in its own right.
They make that, I would argue, obvious in the best way, that you are led down that path pretty easily. So I think everyone thinks, oh, I know what's coming next.
Yeah.
But not in a way that is a detriment to the movie. And so when it isn't that, it's great. Like it's such a positive shift that I don't think anyone has a huge problem with it. I actually didn't really remember the twist. It had been just
that's even
long
better.
enough, that I was like, I remember there's something, but I remembered kind of that like he was involved as a patient, but I just didn't really remember all of it. So I was kind of coming in relatively new, so which was great.
So in the beginning, obviously there's like I thought my one note that I had was the music does a lot of heavy lifting.
Oh my god, it was so loud.
So loud, so like dramatic to set the scene, like when they're going up to the gates and
I was
everything.
just
Yeah,
like,
it was a little
this
much,
is
I
like
think you're right.
abnormally loud. This is like, not sure I understood the reasoning behind it. It was like too intense.
And then there was the like sudden camera jumps or like camera swings. Did you notice that? Is that part of like building the psyche around his, the role play? Like when they first meet Ben Kingsley, there's a bunch of like quick camera swings.
Sir Ben Kingsley.
Or Sir Ben Kingsley, sorry. Bunch of like quick camera swings, and I'm wondering if that was Scorsese just trying to like help build that, like, there's some notes of skepticism from Leo, but really he's just like, all right, that was a little weird, but he kind of plays it off. I don't know if it means anything. It could be, but
I don't know that I necessarily picked up on that. I definitely felt like it was an alarming amount of green screen, like with the water on the boat, like right out of the gate, especially for a Scorsese movie.
I know.
I legitimately, I was like, this is surprisingly like kind of bad.
I thought the same thing. It looked like Hitchcock. Maybe it was on purpose or something, because it looked like Hitchcock used a lot of green screen, but that was back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, it was so, I don't know, it didn't take me out of it, but like, it just, I don't know. I kind of don't think that part fell really below the bar for where I think you would hope a Scorsese movie would be.
I don't know why they would. Yeah, I don't really know what the choice, why that choice was made. And the most egregious use, I think, was when they were driving in the car with the warden, and I swear they used the same background for twice when he was, they cut back and forth between Leo's point of view and his point of view, and I swear it was just the same background that they did, like the same tree that I saw twice, and I'm like, that's just weird, and it didn't look like the right kind of forest even. Like they just put in like a Jurassic Park type forest.
I was gonna say, did they get the one from Terminator 2? When they're driving in the car at night, it's that like cheesy background of them in front of the car. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was. I agree. I'm glad you brought that up, because I would have forgotten about that. But yes, I noticed that, and that it was strange. So they're not, I guess, not without its flaws, or maybe there was a reason for it. But there's still enough
I don't
good
know.
stuff.
It definitely caught my eye. I mean, I just felt like the water, the background on the boat when they were essentially diving in was just
couldn't you guys get a real boat?
I mean, how much time would it take to film on a real boat on the water? Like
James Cameron does it all the time.
That's why it almost makes me assume there's no way it wasn't intentional, but also then why so egregious? But maybe I'm missing something. But there was one part that I didn't understand even after the fact. I couldn't really put it together as to why it was such a pronounced part of the movie. In the early stage, when they get to the facility and they're walking in, and DiCaprio is looking over at the woman who's like working out in the yard, who has like a line on her neck and like her eyes, very little hair, and she like gives him the quiet sign.
Yeah.
I don't know that I fully understand how that connects to what actually was going on in any way, and I don't really understand why it was such a pronounced scene, because I can't figure out why.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a satisfying answer for you. I feel like the other guy, I feel like that might have been like they recognized him, a little bit. At least the guy that was raking and had chains around his ankles, like he definitely gave him
the guy like maybe look. Sure, but the woman is the one, because they that's like a full on Leo's face, her face, Leo's face. Like they make that a big moment,
slow motion,
and I'm like, but the quiet doesn't totally jive with what's going on. I don't know. I feel like I missed something in regards to that.
Yeah, I don't think you did. I was just gonna say, I think it's just kind of a Lynchian general creepiness vibe, like from Mulholland Drive, that doesn't really have an explanation.
Or is it kind of the warning to him, like, don't tell them everything, because you know what's going to happen. Like I'm just speculating here, like she told them all of what she's been thinking about and everything like that, and at one point maybe tried to hang herself. That's the
I think that's obvious, but I just don't know how that connects to them putting him in through a huge game that involves everybody everywhere. But like, he doesn't necessarily need to be quiet. Like, that doesn't necessarily. I don't know. I just not something that we need to like derail the movie about, but it feels to me like they made a big point to show that scene and like again back and forth, and I kept going back to it for some reason and couldn't figure out why.
Yeah,
that was how
I had the same thought. So you weren't alone. It was just, and I just had, I just felt like it was a general setting the tone of you don't know what's going on. There's something weird on this island. Is he right about what his suspicions are or not? As it's just building
I feel like it feeds the false narrative more so than what's actually happening.
Yeah, I think that one
which doesn't make sense because supposedly everybody's in on this whole role playing exercise. But
I was going to talk a little bit about Michelle Williams. And yeah, you
where's
guys
she
talked
been?
about. Well, she's in some heart wrenching movies, and this one definitely for sure. She's always playing like the saddest thing. I feel like this movie really does have one of the saddest moments I think of all of cinema. I mean, though when he pulls those kids out of the water, I don't know,
God, that's brutal.
Yeah, it was so brutal. I was gonna say she's in. Manchester by the Sea, super sad as well. Blue Valentine, a really kind of sad ending love story. Even Brokeback Mountain, like her character is very, very sad in that.
Yeah,
Venom plays it really well. So, what'd you say? What?
The Venom series, the Venom franchise.
Oh, is she in that?
I don't know. I was just looking her up because she hasn't done anything in a couple years, but yeah, she was
super
in both
sad.
Venom movies.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, super sad. Really pulls at all the emotions.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the exception that proves my rule.
Dude, you're not wrong though. Like that scene with the kids is, I mean, we've talked about this plenty. As a dad and as a parent, to see anything that involves, kids is a lot, and it is for everybody. But I just feel like the emotions of things like that just like hit in different ways once you're a parent, and man, which I wasn't when I saw this movie the first time. So not like I was immune to the heartache, but it obviously hits a little bit different this time around, and it is just it's almost, I was like marveling at how hard it had to have been on like everyone, like the kids, her, him, like it was a lot. Like,
the acting, you mean?
Yeah. And just like a really, really hard scene and tough scene to watch and tough scene to do, and like all of it.
It was really well done. I think they I mean,
agreed.
We just talked about Leo. Leo really doesn't miss, and he can play that emotion really well.
Well, according to the Academy, he missed because he was not nominated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
idiots.
That's the end all be all, right, Martin?
No, yeah, it's not at all. I'm sorry. I have that reputation among this podcast, but I'm definitely like more as the years go on of this pod, I'm more and more sour because I just feel like I don't know. The Academy is not in touch with a lot of the actual good work that's out there. But they obviously love Leo and everyone does, and he doesn't have to get nominated for every one of his movies to show off his skill. But yeah, I think this was a really good performance by him, and yeah, really good direction. Really, it's solid all around. But it is one of those that like I said, I haven't. I think Brady, you said when we started, like if for whatever reason it's not talked about as much, maybe as it should, and I'm sure it'll have its kind of resurgence at some point.
Yeah,
maybe we're
like
kicking something off here. Maybe we're trendsetters. as it's got its 15-year. Anniversary this year. While we're doing it, I think maybe someone's gonna pick it back up and talk about it.
No, I mean I'm glad that Colin Firth won for King's Speech and Leo wasn't even nominated this year. It's
you guys saw that movie, right?
Totally logical. I actually did see King's Speech, but
you did?
I did.
Oh wow, that's surprising. I would think you would talk about falling asleep during a movie.
I'm not saying it was good. I just said I saw it. I don't know.
Why? Who made you watch that?
I like to watch movies.
Yeah,
seen some things.
Sometimes you just want to get cultured.
There were a bunch of I was kind of called out here, but several clues and intentional errors throughout the movie that were like kind of foreshadowing the ending, including when they were during the search, all the guards were just sitting around on the rocks, not actually looking for anybody, because they obviously knew that nobody was out there to be found. And I think it played well, because I think when you saw that, you're just like, oh, these guys are. I didn't necessarily look at it as like they weren't looking for because there was nobody to be found. It was more justifiable that they were just like, you had some lazy ass guards, just not participating,
right,
in an effective search. So I think like it, but it was there for you if you wanted to be reading between the lines. I think it was they put it right out there for you, but I just wasn't going down that path. Something I didn't pick up on, but said a patient's drink of water disappeared between shots. From Teddy's perspective, she drinks from an empty hand. Didn't pick up on that. So if you did, that's awesome.
I thought my mind was just playing tricks on me. And again, I was tired, and so I didn't think anything of it. But yeah, when they interview her at the table, and she's the one that writes "run" in his notebook, she like picks up nothing and then sets down a cup, and you're like, wait a minute, what?
I did not catch that. A cardigan appearing briefly on Rachel, which was later worn by the other Rachel. Didn't notice that. And different lines repeated in his dreams in reality with "Why are you wet?
Baby, why are you wet?" Yeah.
Yeah, why are you wet, baby?
And then Kingsley says it. Sir Ben Kingsley.
Sir
says
Ben
it.
Kingsley.
But yeah, good cast, right? I mean, you expect nothing less, I think, from when Martin Scorsese says he's making a movie.
I don't think he gets a lot of no's, right?
Yeah, he doesn't get any no's. So, but I think everyone was pretty well.
You know what I noticed? I saw Emily Mortimer, and I'm like, have I seen her in a movie before, or is it just Newsroom? I'm like, I'm sure I've seen her, right? But I couldn't at the time. I'm like, top of my head couldn't come up with another movie for her. And so looking it up, it was like, oh, Mary Poppins. Well, no, out. And her known for is, I mean, I wouldn't even ask you because it's just there's no way. But
I feel like there's one comedy she's in where she's somebody's like with someone with not Paul Rudd, but some comedian. What are her known for? So why don't you just tell us her known for?
Mary Poppins Returns.
Jelani wants to take a crack at it.
No,
don't do it. Mary Poppins Returns. Trans-Siberian.
No.
Match Point.
Okay.
And Lars and the Real Girl.
I have seen Lars and the Real Girl, and that's probably the one I was thinking about. It's Gosling, yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
she in Our Idiot Brother?
I think that's what I'm thinking about. Our Idiot Brother. Did I say Paul Rudd? I meant to say Paul Rudd.
Yeah, you did say Paul Rudd.
Good.
I think she's one of the sisters.
I'm looking.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
What year is that? Oh, there she is. Yeah, she's Liz.
Yeah.
It's actually a year after this. She's in Pink Panther, Pink Panther 2. But like,
so
not a lot
Cars
from a
2.
movie
I think
standpoint.
she's the voice in Cars 2 of the British spy.
The spy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is
Mater's
this movie really
girlfriend.
messed her up, and she needed to go down the comedy route.
It might have
she
been
did like
the
5
wrong
comedies.
play. I mean, Newsroom is where she definitely had a little resurgence there, but yeah, I don't know. Just when I saw her listed, I mean, she's billed second, and I'm like, huh?
In this?
Yeah.
Wow, weird.
Leo, her, and then Ruffalo, and then Sir Ben Kingsley. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's not how it's billed. That's how she's listed out, but
Yeah.
I think Jackie Earl Haley is always.
Dude,
he's always so creepy.
You go back to Watchmen with him for sure, but obviously he fits that typecast, we'll say.
Yeah, I think he was a kid actor, right, in Bad News Bears.
Yeah,
back in the day, and then yes, from Watchmen as Rorschach and the new Freddy and Nightmare on Elm Street, And then it's George Noyce here, but it's just he just plays that creepy psycho patient pretty well, I think.
Yeah, him, Patricia Clarkson, Ted Levine,
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
I can't look at him without thinking of "Don't make me hurt your dog."
John Carroll Lynch, seen him around.
Fargo.
Of that guy.
Fargo, yeah, for sure, Fargo.
Elias
Hey,
Koteas.
Margie. Yeah,
The original Casey Jones.
Casey
There you
Jones.
go.
That's right.
But then he's also another guy that can do the creepy psycho.
Yeah.
He was in the Fallen. I think he's the villain in Fallen. That initially gets the demon.
Yeah, with Denzel. Yeah.
With Denzel.
Yeah, correct.
We, you know who he looks like, and I don't know why I never thought about this before, but like in this movie when he had the scar on his face and everything, he had a Robert De Niro vibe to me, and I'm like, I've never really thought of that before, but I mean another big Scorsese, actor, and maybe it was like Robert De Niro in Frankenstein.
I was just gonna say, was it Frankenstein?
Because he has the scar across his face, but there was something about the way I feel like he could do the bit from Taxi Driver pretty well. You talking to me? That whole thing.
That's funny.
He has that kind of face.
De Niro at one point was a potential for the Ruffalo role.
Yeah, too old though, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know that age would have been too important there as a doctor.
Yeah.
I think the range, you could pretty much have a doctor be whatever age you wanted. Young would be the side you wouldn't want to err on.
Yeah, but I was gonna say to fit into the role play, right? To be an agent that's working in the U.S. Marshals with this guy, like
maybe. In 2010, maybe I'm wrong. I don't feel like 20 or 15 years ago it was going to be he was going to seem too old. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, he seemed pretty old not old in Heat, but he was older, and Heat was 95. Right? So that's another 15 years on him. I don't know if it would have worked.
I think they played it right.
Well, here's the
Ruffalo's
thing.
good.
It'd be one thing if I was actually talking about Robert De Niro, and another if I was talking about Robert Downey Jr.
That's a good one. That's a classic. Now, Robert Downey Jr.
I was like, I'm sitting here like, what are you talking about? Like Heat. I was like, am I fucking missing something? And then I was like, hold on, I got it. I got the disconnect. Yeah, no, we're in agreement.
Good
now.
night, folks. We'll see you next week.
Has Jeremy been awake too long? Possibly. It's quite possible. Is he
just go
losing
watch
his mind?
Shutter Island again. You'll fall asleep.
Yeah, Chilhani's path to sleep is to watch a well-renowned movie that we really, really like.
Throw it on, and I'm out.
But we didn't. I know I mentioned I read the book, but Dennis Lehane, the writer, he's got some movies under his belt. Have you guys seen? You guys have probably seen them all, like Mystic River and Gone Baby Gone. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So he does a whole the people that are in Gone Baby Gone. I think he does like a whole series with them. They're like recurring characters in his books. So this was, from what I understand, I haven't read a lot of his books, and he's got a lot of them. But from what I understand, this was kind of like a departure for him, because I think he just had the really good idea, and he's like, I gotta write this idea down, and I think he did obviously a really good job. But most of the stuff he does is more like that Mystic River, and more of a just general mystery and detective kind of stuff. And this obviously played into that, but it, as you mentioned in the intro, like had a lot of other genre fields to it, right? There's elements of horror and psychological stuff and a little bit of noir. Setting it in the 50s was a nice touch as well, I think. So yeah, sometimes when you just have a good idea, you gotta run with it.
Yeah, and I think they did, and I think it fell into the right hands. I think despite the green screen action, I think Scorsese was all over it, and I mean, you said it earlier, but like Leo is just fucking great, man, and was phenomenal in this throughout. And just delivered on what you'd expect for him, and to kind of be all over the place from a character standpoint, both real and imagined, and he's he's the right guy for it. I saw at one point this was it was the only movie partnership between them that did not receive an Oscar nomination. And I would argue in some way, shape, or form, it's hard to believe that this wouldn't get one. I'd have to look up everything that was out there that year, but yeah, everything else did. So
I mean, it's better than The Aviator, right? I think The Aviator got some nods even.
It did. It sure did.
Yeah, but
and yes, I would agree with you. It is better than The Aviator, but but that doesn't necessarily matter in the year of what else. Well, what all else is out there, but.
I mean, not when you're going up against the King's Speech.
Martin's fave. And did you guys see what it had been discussed a couple years back, but what is potentially the next collaboration between these two?
Nope.
Devil in the White City.
Oh, about damn time! I think people have been trying to make that.
They have
a movie since
they have been trying. They were going to make it at one point, and then it was like maybe going to be a show. Hulu was involved, and it kind of fell apart. And then just like as of about a month or so ago, I think I saw it's back on, and they're both involved again. That's one of my favorite books that I've read.
I was going to say, I think you guys both read it.
I started it. I did not finish it.
I mean, it's a book I read. That's
that's
feels
saying
like
something.
Saying something. And yeah, I would be so excited I would read that again and then watch it.
Yeah, I remember it pretty
That
well.
book
Like
was phenomenal.
Yeah, for being not so much even just for not even having that much of like a. It's just not just the narrative, right? It's a lot of history stuff, but it was just all fascinating. And I think I do remember hearing that Leo was supposed to play. It's Harry Holmes, right? That's,
I don't know if he would play Holmes or not, but I mean, maybe at one point,
right.
he would have been Holmes, but
right when it came out. But they were talking about. I think they wanted to make that a movie as soon as because the book was a huge hit right that first year. I just don't know why it's taken so fucking long.
Yeah, I think I don't have the right answer, but I remember it was talked about a couple years ago, shortly after I read it, actually, and then it just kind of disappeared. And then I remember, like a year later, it was like, oh yeah, Hulu's got it. They're going to make a show now, and I was like, okay, I'm in regardless. That fell apart, and then for whatever reason, it's back on, and let's hope at some point it gets made.
Nice,
but
another Shutter Island type effort from the Scorsese DiCaprio duo.
I'd be in.
Just make sure you watch it early in the morning so you don't fall asleep.
Johnny's dead set on the fact that he's being pampered in first class and fell asleep. That it's the movie's fault.
It is 100%.
Johnny was
if
piss
Fast
drunk.
5 was on, he wouldn't have fallen asleep.
Piss drunk, eating nuts, a warm towel over his face, and he's like, "This is boring. This is boring. But it's my life."
Well, I also tried to watch Bad Lieutenant Port of Call and didn't make it through that either. So maybe you had something to it.
That's the Nick Cage one, right?
That's the Nick Cage one. As always, which would be worse, to live as a podcaster or to die as a non-subscriber? So subscribe wherever you listen. Thanks, and go to bed.